The festive cheer of Christmas Eve 1945 was shattered in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The town, usually filled with the warmth and joy of the holiday season, was about to witness a tragedy that would leave an indelible mark on its history. The Sodder family home, a bustling hub of 10 children and loving parents, became an inferno. The house, once filled with laughter and the sounds of children playing, was now engulfed in flames, turning a night of celebration into one of horror. George and Jenny Sodder, the heart of the family, were abruptly awakened. Their peaceful slumber was broken by the crackling of fire and the smell of smoke, signaling the beginning of their nightmare. Smoke and the acrid smell of fire filled their bedroom. The once cozy and safe space was now a dangerous trap, and they knew they had to act quickly to save their family. Panic seized them. They scrambled to save their children. The urgency of the situation was overwhelming, and every second counted as they tried to gather their loved ones and escape the growing inferno. George's desperate attempts to use the family's ladder were met with failure. The ladder, which had always been in its place, was now mysteriously missing, adding to the chaos and fear. It was inexplicably missing. 2 of their trucks, usually reliable workhorses, refused to start. These trucks, which George had counted on for emergencies, were now useless, leaving them with no means to fight the fire or reach the trapped children. Precious time slipped away with each failed attempt to combat the flames. The fire grew stronger, and the chances of rescuing the remaining children grew slimmer with every passing moment. George and Jenny managed to escape. 4 of their children followed, racing through the flames and smoke to safety. The relief of having some of their children safe was overshadowed by the terror of knowing others were still inside. Yet 5 remained trapped. 5 children were missing. The realization was devastating, and the helplessness they felt was unbearable as they watched the fire consume their home. The fire raged, consuming the house and everything in it. The once vibrant home was now a blazing inferno, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. Firefighters arrived, but it was too late. The flames had already done their worst, and there was little they could do to save the house or the children trapped inside. The wooden structure was reduced to ashes and smouldering debris. The once lively home was now a pile of ruins, a stark reminder of the night's tragedy. As the smoke cleared and the embers cooled, a chilling realization gripped the Sodders. The full extent of their loss became painfully clear, and the weight of their grief was almost too much to bear. 5 of their children, Morris, Martha, Louis, Jenny and Betty, were gone. The family was left to grapple with the heartbreaking reality that their loved ones were lost in the fire, and the questions of how and why this tragedy occurred would haunt them forever. The initial shock gave way to agonizing uncertainty. Where were the children? Had they somehow escaped the flames? The Sodder house was gone, reduced to a pile of charred rubble. Yet amidst the devastation, a glimmer of hope emerged. There was no trace of the missing children, no bones, no bodies. The authorities, operating on the assumption that the children had perished in the fire, were quick to close the case. The fire, they concluded, was a tragic accident, possibly caused by faulty wiring. The missing children were presumed dead. But George and Jenny Sodder refused to accept this. They clung to the hope that their children were alive. The thought of their children trapped in that inferno, their laughter silenced forever, was unbearable. The Sodders knew in their hearts that something was terribly wrong. Their children were gone, but the fire had not claimed them. The mystery of their disappearance was just beginning. In the wake of the fire, a series of unsettling events leading up to Christmas Eve came to light. The Sodder family, who had been living a quiet life, suddenly found themselves at the center of a mystery that would haunt them for years to come. The Sodder children had been visited by a peculiar salesman just weeks before the fire. This man, with his strange demeanour and probing questions, left an uneasy feeling in the household. This man, unknown to the family, had expressed an unusual interest in their home's electrical wiring. He had scrutinised the wiring with an intensity that seemed out of place for a simple salesman. He had even warned them of the potential fire hazard, a warning that seemed more like a prediction in hindsight. The family couldn't shake off the feeling that this visit was more than just a coincidence. Then there was the chilling phone call that Jenny received just days before the fire. The call came late at night, a time when such interruptions were rare and often unwelcome. A male voice, unfamiliar and laced with malice, had requested George by name. The voice was cold and calculating, sending a wave of fear through Jenny. When Jenny asked who was calling, the voice on the other end only erupted in laughter. It was a cruel, mocking sound that echoed in her mind long after the call had ended. It was a cruel, chilling sound that sent shivers down her spine. The laughter was not just unsettling, it was a harbinger of the tragedy that was to come. As the Sodders pieced together these unsettling incidents, a sense of dread settled upon them. The seemingly random events began to form a pattern, one that pointed to a sinister plot against their family. The fire, they began to believe, was no accident. The more they thought about it, the more convinced they became that someone had deliberately set their home ablaze. It was a deliberate act, a horrifying conclusion that cast a dark shadow over their grief. The realization that their tragedy was orchestrated by a malevolent force was almost too much to bear. Their children, they feared, had not died in the fire. They had been taken. This fear gnawed at them, turning their sorrow into a relentless quest for the truth. The Sodders would not rest until they uncovered the fate of their missing children, no matter how long it took or how painful the journey. Section 4. Whispers and shadows, unease lingers. The Sodders weren't alone in their suspicions. Witnesses came forward, their accounts adding another layer of mystery to the case. A bus driver claimed to have seen the missing children in a passing car on the night of the fire. He described the vehicle in detail, noting that it was heading in the direction of Charleston, West Virginia. Others reported seeing the children in a local diner the morning after the fire. They were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women, all speaking a foreign language. The children, they said, appeared to be frightened and withdrawn. These eyewitness accounts, while fragmented and sometimes conflicting, painted a chilling picture. The Sodder children were not dead. They were alive, but in the clutches of someone who meant them harm. The question that haunted the Sodders, and indeed the nation, was why? Section 5. A family's desperate search. Fueled by a mixture of grief, determination, and a sliver of hope, George and Jenny Sodder embarked on a tireless search for their missing children. Their journey was not just a quest for answers, but a testament to the unyielding strength of parental love. They refused to believe that their children were gone forever. Every day they woke up with a renewed sense of purpose, driven by the belief that somewhere, somehow, their children were still alive. They devoted their lives to uncovering the truth, relentlessly pursuing every lead, no matter how small or far-fetched. Each clue, each whisper, was a beacon of hope in their dark world. George, a hard-working coal miner, poured his earnings into the investigation. His hands, calloused from years of labor, now worked tirelessly to sift through the ashes of their past, seeking any sign of their lost children. He hired private detectives, consulted with psychics, and even had the fire site excavated multiple times. Each effort, though often fruitless, was a step closer to the truth they so desperately sought. They distributed flyers with their children's pictures far and wide, their pleas for information reaching every corner of the country. The flyers became a symbol of their undying hope and relentless pursuit. Their unwavering commitment to finding their children was both inspiring and heartbreaking. They stood as pillars of strength even as the weight of their loss threatened to crush them. They chased shadows, followed whispers, and clung to the smallest glimmers of hope. Every rumor, every sighting was a thread they followed with unwavering determination. But despite their tireless efforts, the trail remained cold. The endless search took its toll, leaving them physically and emotionally drained. The mystery of the Sodder children deepened, leaving behind a legacy of loss and unfathomable pain. Their story, however, remains a poignant reminder of the lengths to which love and hope can drive us, even in the face of insurmountable odds.